Welcome to the show, Midday Sports with Rod, and me also. I got a special guest like comes every week. Fifth Down Sports with Chris Dietz. How you doing, man?
What's up, man? Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Same to you, man. Same to you, man. How was your holidays?
Oh, it was great. It was great. I got my Christmas started off really well with a Cowboys win over the Eagles, so no complaints here.
I just don't think what you call CD Lamb is that man. He ain't him. He ain't a number one man.
Hey, man, CD Lamb did his thing. First Cowboys receiver to have a 100-yard game and a half. So, CD does what CD does, and you can be right, and two things can be right. I mean, CD Lamb's the best receiver the Cowboys have, but you're right. He's not a number one guy. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not trying to put some other. He's not Jamar Chase. He's not some of these other guys, but he's the best. He's the best the Cowboys have, and they have to find ways to use him. So,
but you know what? I'm glad that happened though, man. But I think it would have been a totally different game with Jalen Hurts in the game.
Oh, it would have been a completely different game. Gardner Minshew got them as close as you could get. So
I'm just saying, you take that first down. You see how slow Gardner Minshew was. Jalen Hurts was getting a first down and plus another maybe 5 yards on it. So really a 15-yard gain.
Yeah,
Michael Parsons not catching Jalen Hurts.
No, that game's complete, and nobody should take that. No. That's why nobody should take anything out of this win, out of this. Anybody that wants to blow this win out of proportion. I mean, it was just nice to see the Cowboys get a win. That's all I was worried about. Cowboys got a win, and it doesn't change anything. The Eagles win this week. They win the NFC. They win the NFC. They have the number one seed. They win the NFC East, and that's all she wrote. So this win doesn't really change anything. It just gives the Cowboys, that upper hand of, hey, we had that debacle against the Jaguars, and we were able to come and pull one out. But
and look at what Jacksonville smacked it. What you calling them out? Who did they smack?
Oh. They smacked the Jets on Thursday night.
I'm telling you, Trevor Lawrence with Dougie P, man, they're like peanut butter and jelly with that play calling, man. That defense been playing lights out. They've been playing pretty lights out at the end of the year.
They're turning it on at the right time, and they're getting. I mean, not for nothing, but they're getting lucky because not only are they turning it on, but the Titans are in free fall. The Titans are in free fall. And the rest of their division, the Colts are garbage. We'll watch them tonight. They're garbage.
You gotta watch them again?
I'm not gonna watch them because I'll be at work. Luckily, I'll be at work and I don't have to watch that garbage of a game. But
I watched that game last night. That shit was terrible, Deeds.
Oh, the Broncos. Yeah, we'll talk more about the Broncos in a minute.
Not the Broncos, but the Cardinals in Tampa. That shit was
the afternoon game. I thought you meant the night game.
No, man, that shit was terrible, man. That shit was right. It was like watching milk come out. It's cold outside in Alaska. You watching the milk just freeze up.
It was the Tom Brady game. I mean, it was everything Tom Brady. Like this year, Tampa Bay's been awful. They were awful for 3.5 quarters. And then all of a sudden, Tom Brady was like, you know what? I'm going to be Tom Brady again. And down 14 in the fourth quarter, ends up pulling off a miraculous comeback. So
It's another question. Do you see Todd Bowles coming back next year?
No.
I can't
No
see
way.
it.
No way. There's no way. I mean, if Tom Brady's not their quarterback, this team is atrocious.
I might say maybe only 2 wins. Maybe 2 wins with this terrible team.
And you look at how bad they're doing with Tom Brady. I mean, this Tom Brady is putting up offensive numbers that he's never put up before, and this team is absolutely horrible. Tom Brady is putting up.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy how things are going for him. You know what I mean? It definitely could be better, man. But
before we get sidetracked, I want to get back to the Dallas Philly game.
Go back to it.
And I want to just lay this out for you and for the listeners out there. I want you to listen to this quote, and then I'll tell you the facts, and then you tell me if you hear the same thing I do. So at halftime, Erin Andrews interviewed Mike McCarthy, and she came on, and at halftime, she did her halftime thing, and she said, and I quote, "I spoke with Coach Mike McCarthy, and he said this team needs to focus on the line of scrimmage and run the football more in the second half." That was the quote that she got from Mike McCarthy, that they want to run the ball more in the second half. I counted. I counted them up during the game, and I counted them up. I just counted them up 5 minutes ago looking at the stat sheet. The Dallas Cowboys ran a grand total of 8 rushing plays in the second half. 8. Is that running the football more and controlling the line of scrimmage when you have 12 drives and you ran the ball 8 times? Who's lying and why? That's what I want to know. What the hell? There's no when you come out and say we want to run the ball more, okay, you want to run the ball more. That sounds good. But when you only run it 8 times, what the hell are you doing? And not to mention 3 of those runs were on the final drive when they were trying to ice the game away.
And I think they was messing up, man. When you really watch the game and break it down, they was trying to run it too inside. You can't run it inside with all them big bodies on that defensive line. I don't understand. When Zeke got off, it was an outside run. You know what I mean? It was an outside run. He got them edges.
Yeah, you're not running on those 2 deep. The only time they really put in work on running the ball was when Jordan Davis got injured.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have Jordan Davis and you have the all pro, the all pro defensive tackle there,
mm-hmm.
when you got those 2 guys inside, you're not going to run the ball over the right guard. Like, that's not going to happen. But I mean, just illustrating this point. Second quarter, it's 14-10 Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dallas is up 14-10. Eagles are driving the ball. Eagles have it first and goal at the 10-yard line. First down, they run the ball, get 6 yards. Second down, they run the ball, they get 3 yards. Third down, they run the ball, they get stuffed at the goal line, but they're close enough to the goal line to go for it on fourth down. Fourth down, they run the ball, QB sneak, touchdown. They take the lead. The very next drive, they kick off to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys drive down. First and goal at the 10-yard line. They hand the ball off to Zeke. He gets 6 yards. Second down, pass incomplete. Third down, pass incomplete. Fourth down, field goal. That's the difference between the Cowboys and winning football. Mm-hmm. You ran the ball first and goal at the 10-yard line for 6 yards. Hand the ball off 2 more times, and you're in the end zone, and you have the lead instead of tying the game. That's the difference between the Dallas Cowboys and good football.
But why do you feel like your team, every time they get into some good games, they shit the bed, man. It's simple math. I don't understand why they don't. Calvin Moore is still there. I just don't understand. You would think he was North Turner. How much this coaching staff loves him.
And North Turner. Look, nobody's ever gonna say North Turner was. North Turner was a great offensive coordinator, but the reason he was a great offensive coordinator is because even though he loved to pass the ball, he knew, well, the strength of my team is the offensive line and the greatest running back of all time. So what are you going to do? I'm going to hand the ball off to that guy and let that guy cook for me, and we'll throw the ball when we have to. Even North Turner knew that.
I just don't understand why they just don't use to put a tight end in the backfield, or better yet, put two tight ends in the game and have them like as extra blockers. You know what I mean?
I don't understand it. They have two great tight ends. I mean, they have Dalton Schultz,
who's
a good tight end. You have Jake Ferguson, who is a great blocker. I mean, go back. The guy is a Wisconsin guy. He knows how to block in the running game.
I don't understand this play too, Deets.
Doesn't make any sense.
You put Turpin in. He throws a look like a reverse flea flicker. What was that? What was that needed for? What play you think that was going to work on?
I don't know what the again. This is the thing about the Cowboys is they don't even try to just line up and run the ball. Every time they run the ball, it's got to be some kind of a trick. It's got to be some kind of we're going to motion this guy here. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Like, you have two great running backs. You have an offensive line that's they're beaten up pretty much, but the offensive line's still very good. Zach Martin's still really good. You just got Tyron Smith back. Like, run the football and hand the ball to your two running backs. And I understand, like, Dak threw the interception, then he was 16 of 16. Like, so Dak was feeling it. I get it. But first and goal at the 10-yard line is not the time to be running stupid fade routes to Michael Gallup.
No.
That's not the time to run that. The time to run that is when they did it. When T.Y. Hilton decided it was 2010 again.
Yeah,
and somehow got behind the defense. How they let T.Y. Hilton get behind the defense, that I have no idea what the Eagles were thinking.
Slay, you know what I mean? Slay, I say this about Slay. Slay, sometimes he doesn't be focused all the time. You know what I mean? He gets a little arrogant, but Slay is I still have him as a top 10 corner in the league. You know what I mean? I still like their secondary more than y'all secondary with Maddox and what's the other boy's name?
And Maddox.
Maddox and the other guy.
When Maddox went down, that's when the Eagles secondary fell apart.
Maddox is a hybrid. He can play a little bit of linebacker, a little bit of strong safety, a little bit of slot corner. He's a hybrid. He's definitely that guy.
But the reason I bring this up is because it is exactly for all of that. Is you watch this game, the Cowboys won, but they did so many dumb things that you were like, even though the Cowboys won and I was glad that we won, I walked away from that game saying, man, if we play like this in the playoffs, we're going to get beat. It doesn't matter who we're playing.
I think the play calling is going to get you beat.
The play calling, exactly. The play calling is terrible. I mean, the defense gave up 37 points. People said, "Oh, the Dallas defense the Dallas defense stood up on the last drive." Yeah, but they gave up 37 points to Gardner Minshew.
That's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign at all, man.
None of that game. The only thing I walked away from that game feeling happy about was, well, we won.
You won.
Everything else about that game is, yikes, we're in trouble.
Y'all stopped the run. That's about it. You can say you stopped Miles Sanders. That's about it. But you gave 30. You let Gardner Minshew put 37 points on you. But you also got to say this. Jalen Hurts is the MVP. Look at that team compared when he's on there on the field and when he's not on the field. That team looks totally different on offense. That team looks totally different.
Oh, I said that on Snowman Show on the afternoon show on Friday. I said this game is going to show you whether Jalen Hurts is the MVP or not, and he absolutely is the MVP because that team was totally different. They were totally different in every way without him on the field. So he just won the MVP right there by not playing.
Well, a lot of people don't. I see this. He's a way better passer than last year. You got to give him credit to that. He's a way better passer than last year when he first got the first start with the Eagles. He's a way better passer this year. Way better. His deep ball looks way better. You know what I mean? I'm saying the team looks way better now that he's maturing as a passer. I think he's one of the best passers / athlete quarterbacks in the league, scrambling quarterbacks in the league. I think he's better. He's better than college to me. He's a way better thrower than Lamar.
Yeah, he's doing. He's doing it. I gotta see it. I gotta see him in a big game. I gotta see him in a big game and a big spot when the game is on his shoulders. Before I'm gonna put him up there with the other passing quarterbacks because we haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen a game where the game has been on his shoulders and it's Eagles are down 4. The Eagles are down 4 getting a kickoff and he's got to throw. Every time I've watched him, it's been the threat of the run has always been there. To be a true passer, to be up there in that category, in the Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, to be up in that stratosphere, you've got to show me a point when everybody in the world knows you're passing, and you can still carve them up.
But all them quarterbacks you just named are mobile.
Absolutely.
You can't be walking concrete no more. You can't beat Tom Brady. You're not gonna even make the league if you're Tom Brady. You're that slow. Look what Joe Burrow did to us. He ran for 15 yards and slid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, you can't make that shit up. But I think he hit the next level though. I see him. I think right now, man. I think Kyler Murray's done. First of all. But I feel like I think Jalen Hurts is going on the right way, man. The right path.
Kyler Murray's done. He's done for the year with his knee injury.
But Josh Allen, I don't see this team. This team looks completely different to me. I don't see them going all the way. I can see them go to the AFC Championship and get knocked off by Kansas City again. Or
for the Bills, it comes down. Everything's going to come down to home field advantage.
Exactly. If they don't get that, it's over with.
If they don't have home field advantage, they lose a lot. They lose a lot. And that's not the case for any of those other teams. Kansas City, I could see Kansas City going into Buffalo and stealing a game. I could see Cincinnati going in there and stealing a game. I can't see Buffalo going into Cincinnati and stealing the game from Cincinnati. I can't see Buffalo going into Kansas City and stealing the game from Kansas City.
But you know what I mean? You know what I noticed though, man? Anybody in that Andy Reid offense was going to have huge numbers. Look at Juju right now. People said Juju was done. Look at Toomey, came from the Giants. No. He's looking like a shining star on that offense. Andy Reid's offense just make everybody looks good. I'm telling you, you could throw Jacoby Myers in there, and he probably look like a shining star.
Well, he makes everybody look good except for one guy, and that's the running back.
Oh,
if you're the running back in an Andy Reid offense, I just ask Brian Westbrook. I mean, Just ask Brian Westbrook was one of the best players in the NFL, and he'll never get looked at that way because he had to play his whole career in Philadelphia with Andy Reid.
Except for Shady. Shady has some good numbers with him though. Shady has some good numbers.
Shady didn't put up big numbers till Andy Reid left.
He has some good. I mean, receivers.
He didn't put up his big time numbers until the post Andy Reid era. That's when Shady McCoy became Shady McCoy.
You know what I call him though, man? I call him a great value Barry. To me, when I saw him come out of Pitt, I was like, yo, this is a great value Barry Sanders. Just the shiftiness. He was cutting people up, man. He was cutting people up.
Yeah. And again, Shady was a good guy. And again, you look at Andy Reid, and then you look at Shady McCoy post Andy Reid, and the numbers are staggering. That's the only position that Andy Reid doesn't know how to utilize is the running back. But everybody else, your numbers will skyrocket in an Andy Reid offense. And hey, no shade to him. It works. It works for him. It's worked for him for how many years. So
let me
look at all the guys that he's put through. So
let me get on my rant though, Deets, about my Patriots, man. You know what I mean? I had to go talk to Dr. Phil, man. And maybe I'm a little delusional.
Are you delusional? Do you suffer from a?
Because I really don't understand. Where's Kendrick Bourne been the whole year? Why has Kendrick Bourne have not been starting? Why you haven't given him any touches? It doesn't make sense to me. I see what he did against that talented Cincinnati team. So why is he has not been getting the? You put Jacoby Myers, Devontae Parker, but Kendrick Bourne is an athlete. Okay, you seen how big time that catch was. He did in the end zone, kneeling, and by the do not mistake pose on the defender, on the corner. Like, it doesn't make sense. You got a speedy receiver that runs a 4.2, and we're not doing nothing vertical. Does that make sense to me? To you, Deets? Does that make sense to you?
Doesn't make it. It doesn't make it. The only thing that makes sense is this guy maybe he just didn't know the offense, or it took him this long to understand the offense.
What, Kendrick Bourne?
Yeah, because he is a young guy.
Kendrick Bourne was there last year. This is the same offense. Bill Belichick says this is the same offense that we've been running with Josh McDaniels. He said nothing changed about the offensive playbook. So why has not Kendrick Bourne been in the game? You acting like we got a lot of receivers over 1,000 yards. We don't. Jacoby Myers got 666 yards receiving. We don't got no 1,000 yards receivers. So why you're not rotating receivers is dumb to me.
Yeah.
Why are you not giving? I know Hunter Henry is hurt. But why you're not mixing it up with Jono Smith? You paid these tight ends so much money. Why are you not mixing it up? You know what I mean? It's no offensive creativity with this team, man, and it's sickening. This defense play lights out every game. Nobody expect us to hold Cincinnati to 22 points. Deets, who saw that coming, Deets?
That's the key. Is there's no ingenuity with this offense. It's Ramondre Stevens on first and second down, and then third down it's going to be a drop back pass, and it's going to be a 2-man route. Like what are we? That's not an NFL offense. I'm sorry.
At this time, man, I want them in the offseason to strip Bill Belichick as the GM. Get somebody else, man. Get somebody else in there, man. Because this team doesn't have no talent, man. It's got to spare a little bit of talent on offense, man.
He needs.
If I was Mac Jones, I would ask to leave. Get me traded out there.
He needs somebody. He needs somebody in there. We see this all the time. We see this with any profession. In any profession. You always need somebody else in the room that can talk you down from the ledge. That when and you could say, you know, I talk entertainment on my show all the time. You talk about a director like James Cameron, who has just a great. He's put out the best movies of all time: Aliens, Terminator 2, these kind of movies. But when you give him full reign, you get things like Avatar 2 and Avatar, which are just the scripts are just they're generic. There was no oversight. There was nobody to be like, hey James, this needs to be reworked. You need to go back and you need to go back and relook at this. The same thing happens with coaching. You know, there's nobody in that room that's going to stand up to Bill Belichick and say, Bill, this isn't a good idea. Let's take these guys instead of building up the defense. Let's get some of these playmakers in here. There's nobody in that room anymore. There's nobody in there that can stand up. Scott Pioli was a guy who could do that. They had the other guy who left and went down to Jacksonville, I think, to be there to work with Tom Coughlin. They had guys in the room that could say, Bill, that's not a good idea. Like, let's not do that. Let's go a different route. So what I'm saying with all this is you have to have checks and balances. There always when you have one guy that has exceeded that check, you're always going to struggle. And that's where Bill is right now. Bill's at the top of the mountain and nobody's stepping up to him. And I can say that the Dallas Cowboys. Nobody steps in and says, hey, Jerry, this is a bad idea. Like, there's not one person. His own son can't even say, hey, Jerry, this is bad. Let's not do that. And it's hurt the team immensely. So
I think what you call cry eventually going to wake up, because you're going to have to, man. You know what I mean? I've been a Patriot fan since I was 10 years old, Deets. I'm 30 years old now. Okay, this has got to be one of the worst offensive teams I've seen in the 20 years I've been a fan.
It's one of the worst. It's one of the worst rosters.
Yeah.
I mean, go up and down the offensive roster, and
I'm telling you, Matt Castle in 08 or 09 probably could beat this team.
Tell me somebody who stands out on the offensive side of the ball. There's not a single guy who you look at and go, well, that guy's scary.
And the defensive coordinators know this. Like Jacoby Myers, Ramon Stevenson. All we gotta do is load the box. You know what I mean? Load the gaps. You know what I mean? Nobody's gonna do nothing. What they gonna do?
Are you afraid? Are you afraid of leaving Jacoby Myers one-on-one? No. You're good. You're good with your corner one-on-one, and it doesn't matter who you are. And now, and you just look at your biggest rival. Well, your biggest rival has a guy in Sauce Gardner who's going to shut down anybody. And there's a reason why that game was 3-3 until a punt return, because Sauce Gardner was shutting down whoever was. There was no threat to him.
But yeah, you know what I mean? You know what's been a bright spot, man, of this season and that draft class we got? I call him Troy Brown 2.0. Marcus Jones' stock went up to me. He's an offensive weapon. He's a punt returner. He's a pretty solid corner.
Yeah, well,
he's a pretty solid corner.
Troy, I mean,
coming up from SMU.
If that's your saving grace, Troy Brown. I mean, that's.
I'm saying Troy. I call him Troy Brown 2.0.
Right.
Also, Jack Jones.
If that's your saving grace, like even on those teams, Troy Brown was the glue. He was not the go-to wide receiver. He was never a go-to wide receiver.
We only had two receivers that won, you know what I mean, Super Bowl MVPs: Julian Edelman and Deion Branch. They showed out in them Super Bowls. You know what I mean? In that Super Bowl and Julian. So that's only two I could really name that really showed out.
And don't let me don't get me mistaken here. Troy Brown was the reason the Patriots won a Super Bowl. If you remember, AFC Championship game against the Chargers, when Tom Brady threw an interception and Troy Brown ripped it out of the guy's hand, ripped it out of the defender's hands to make it a fumble instead of an interception. So Troy Brown was a glue guy, but he was never the go-to wide receiver. He was never, all right, we need a play, we're going to Troy Brown. Troy Brown was always, all right, Troy Brown's old reliable. He'll be there, but we're going to throw the ball to Deion Branch. We're going to throw the ball to Wes Welker. We're going to throw the ball to all these other guys.
And Watson, you can go on and on.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about Troy Brown, and that's what I'm saying about this team. This team doesn't have any go-to. This Patriots team doesn't have any go-to weapons.
On that defense, they do. They got some dogs in that defense. They got some dogs on that defense.
And they need to bring. They either need to bring a guy. They either need to bring some guys in, or they need to go out and draft them. And I don't think Bill is capable. I don't trust Bill. The one position I don't trust Bill to draft is wide receiver.
Tight ends, he can hit, but yeah, wide receiver, yeah, that's
tight ends, offensive linemen, defensive players, yeah, all power to Bill. But wide receivers, he just can't seem to get a wide receiver right.
Nah, man, I wouldn't mind somebody, DJ Moore, something like that. If we can make that work, something like that I can see. But yeah, we definitely need a receiver. I wouldn't mind giving up a couple picks for DK Metcalf. Like we need somebody who can.
If Seattle's looking to move, I don't think Seattle's looking to move DK though.
Yeah, DK shucks. Like
Seattle. If Seattle is looking to move DK Metcalf, I think they have enough draft picks coming up.
You definitely all right. But
I think they're loaded. I think they're all set in the draft category. I don't think they need any more draft picks after the haul they got for Russell Wilson.
But yeah, man, it's still sad. I'm sad every day, every time I see that post or that video of AJ Brown said he's a Patriot fan growing up. He's ready to go. That still makes me sick. It makes me want to drink some nice bourbon and cry.
Yeah. Imagine what they could do with AJ Brown there.
That'd been epic. That would definitely been epic. But
I mean, speaking of AJ Brown, I mean, look at, we were just talking about Jalen Hurts. AJ Brown couldn't get the ball on Christmas Eve. It seemed like every pass was thrown to Devontae Smith. Like, I don't know if AJ Brown like kicked Gardner Minshew's dog or something. Like, I don't know what was going on. They couldn't get AJ Brown the ball, and it's not like Diggs is a shutdown. Diggs is going to give you opportunities. So I know they said Diggs was throwing the ball over the field, but still, AJ Brown should still have gotten at least more than 2 catches.
Exactly. But man, let's go on some college football news, man. What are you been seeing in the man? You see the players Deion is getting to Boulder, man.
I've seen them come. I've seen the guys that he's bringing in, and they're coming up the. They're not coming up the
Florida. A lot of Florida boys.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't care. And that's just honesty from my point. I don't care about recruiting classes. I don't care about ESPN top 100 guys. Like, I don't care. I'm not gonna judge. I'm not judging any of these guys on stuff on fluff pieces that people have written, on game tape that is out. I've watched high school game. I've made high school game tapes. Okay, they're not indicative of anything about. All they do is show what guys can do.
Mhm.
It doesn't show how guys are going to play next year, how guys are going to play 2 or 3 years down the road when they're actually accounting on these guys. Like, I need to see what they are on the field. I'm not going off these recruiting reports because I could care less.
Well, yeah, okay. Let's move along.
So-
then. How did you feel about the tribute for Franco Harris? Then?
Of course the Steelers were gonna make that, and they were playing the Raiders, so it just made so much sense to do everything, and that's how it should be when a guy like that. Franco Harris is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, you're younger than I am, and Franco Harris is before my time, and all I knew about the Pittsburgh Steelers was Franco Harris. So yeah, I thought it was a good tribute. I thought it was nice, and look what happened. The Steelers, Mike Tomlin's streak of non-losing seasons continues. But man, he's got a big one coming up this weekend. And if they get by the Ravens here, the Steelers might pull this off.
I felt sorry for the Raiders, man. You already knew them Steelers were gonna play with a different kind of effort for their, you know what I mean, for the Steelers legend. You know what I mean? I don't feel like that was a fair game, man, because you knew there was gonna be, Mike T going to tell him, let's win this game for him, and give him the inspiration, speech to get them players ready to play.
They were. I mean, you knew that was going to happen.
Oh shit! Look at the LeBron hater is here. The LeBron hater is here.
That would be you, sir.
But I still said it. Snowman can say I said the Steelers were going to win. I said the Steelers were going to win on Friday.
You called it. You absolutely called it.
Because and I'm going to say the same thing this week. Until I see Mike Tomlin with having a losing season, I'm not betting on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet that on that either, man. I just don't understand why they don't give Pickens the ball. He's the best receiver they got. Why you don't give him the ball?
Because they're too afraid to throw it to him.
That guy's athletic. I remember watching that Georgia. That was free.
They might as well punt it to him.
Who's better?
Everybody.
Not Debo. He's not available.
Debo's not available, true, but Debo's miles better than him if he were available. How you doing, Rob? How you doing?
Good, man. Good. How was your holiday, man?
Let's see. Full of food, full of children, full of kisses from my wife, full of kisses from my niece. I'm good.
Man, why you got that Baltimore coat hoodie on?
Well, one, my wife gave it to me, and two, my wife gave it to me. It's pretty simple. And three, I wore it this morning during the show, in case you haven't noticed.
Oh, I watched the show, man. I woke up late, though. I got up late. I slept in, man.
You slept?
I slept in.
Did you sleep good?
Oh, did I?
You know something? I had planned to take today off, too. I did. I had written it down, but you know what time wife and I fell asleep last night? 8:30.
You can't do that. I went to sleep at 10:30. So
listen,
before that garbage of a game even kicked off.
I didn't want to watch that.
But listen, we got in last night, and we had some dessert. Had some chocolate from my sister-in-law, and we both settled down. She put on an audiobook, and the next thing I knew, it was 2 a.m.
Yeah, them audiobooks put you to sleep.
Dude, she got me hooked on audiobooks, okay?
Yeah, I like audiobooks.
She got me hooked on Audible. She got me hooked on audiobooks because the first one the series that she got me hooked on was a murder mystery series. Man, first time she played that, she said, "You got to listen to this." I said, "All right." Yeah. Listen to all 51 of those doggone things over and over again.
You're talking about murder mysteries, but I never understand how Murder She Wrote, she never got in a jam. She always got saved. Like that don't make sense to me how she always got saved. Even if it was from Magnum PI, somebody tried to hit her off the bike.
I got a question for you. And who played the title character?
I forgot her name. What was her name?
Angela Lansbury.
Yeah. That should answer your question.
The magic of 80s. That was the magic of 80s TV, dude. That was the magic of 80s TV. All hype and there was never going to be any trouble. They were going to get out of everything, but they were going to step in it every step of the way where you're like, oh, this person should definitely be killed. And then they magically get out of it. That was 80s TV at its best.
Dates. They were going to step in every pile of shit they can step into. Mm-hmm. Just ask Magnum PI.
Ask the A-Team.
Ask the A-Team.
I like the Magnum PI though. I like the A-Team.
Listen, the A-Team got more shit than the NWO did.
Exactly.
And they wound up coming out on the other side all the time.
What's that brother name he was in that movie? Magnum PI. The pilot. What was his name? I forgot his name.
The only one I know from Magnum PI is Tom Selleck.
No, it was the guy that his homeboy used to drive a helicopter off of Magnum PI, the black guy.
I know who you're talking about. I can't place his name.
Man.
I can't place his name. See, Rod, I would like to have a goatee like you, but I don't let it grow very long.
I gotta keep it. I can't have it. It's like seeing James Harden without a facial hair. It's weird. I can't do it. Leave my chin out there like that.
I never saw James Harden without facial hair ever.
Well, I can't do it. My old lady likes it. She told me I can't cut it, but she does make me trim it a little bit because it definitely get wild.
Well, that's what Jody told me. She says I can have the fool. I can have the fool. I just can't.
But it's still. I want the mustache to be Tom Selleck, Black Tom, or Family Matters. Like the dad on Family Matters.
Why don't you go Raleigh
Winslow?
Get a Carl Winslow mustache?
Yeah, a little thick one.
Why don't you go Raleigh Fingers with a handlebar mustache?
I can't. It can't. Yeah. It don't grow really.
Go Raleigh Fingers with a handlebar.
Yeah.
I can't do it. My hair's too curly. I can't do it.
Speaking of Carl Winslow, Snowman, I gotta set you straight here because you said it on the morning program, and I almost had a heart attack.
Wait a minute, Deet's having a heart attack?
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Oh, it is. It is.
Let me tell you what it is. Let me tell you what it is. It's a movie that takes place at Christmas time.
So that makes it a Christmas movie.
But
no, why Christmas? Because and here's my argument to that. If you watch Die Hard in July,
yep,
it's just as good as if you watched it in December. It's not like, oh, I'm watching this because it's Christmas. No, you can watch Die Hard. You can watch Die Hard in August in 100-degree weather, and you'll get as much enjoyment out of it as you will watching it December 25th.
I watched Christmas Story in July though, Deep. So what are you saying?
And I'm saying it's totally different. It's a totally different feeling when you watch A Christmas Story on December 24th and they do a 24 hours of A Christmas Story.
I watched like two. I watched it.
It's totally different.
The lamp. I want one of them lamps still to this day. I can't find them.
Dude, I'll tell you this about A Christmas Story. I love that they do it 24 hours, but I hate that they do it 24 hours because I'll be flipping through the channel and I'll be like, oh, Christmas Story's on. and I'll watch it from like halfway through until the very end.
Yeah.
And then the credits will roll, and I'll be like, all right, let me go watch something else. I'll start watching something else,
And you'll see
and
a
then
Christmas story again.
then that'll go on commercial, and I'll flip back and I'll go, oh, Christmas Story's on, and I'll watch the entire thing all over again, and act like I've never seen it before, even though I just watched it 20 minutes ago.
Hey,
Been there. Been there.
but Snowman, I like Indiana Jones, but I feel kind of bad when he start whipping the people with the whip. Dude,
I don't.
Don't
See, the whip is
that's a messed up way to get me down.
Listen, when Harrison Ford starts kicking people's ass with the whip, that's the best part. That's when you want the whip to come out.
Oh,
My
favorite one with him and Sean Connery, though. I like that one. That was my favorite one with him and his pops. But I didn't like the last one. It's
Why
like
not?
I didn't like the last one with Shia
with Shia LaBeouf.
God. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. It's like watching the last Rambo.
Oh, wait.
Listen,
Oh,
Sean
just wait a month. Just wait a month.
The way you said Sean LaBeouf reminds me of how Stephen A. says Matt LaFleur. I'm
Just
sorry.
just wait a month. Wait a month till Indy 5 comes out.
Oh God.
Indy 5.
Yes.
Indy 5. Just wait till the commercials are already out, and it's gonna. If you thought Indy 4 was bad, just wait. Hold my beer. It's gonna say, because it's awful. It's gonna be awful.
I watched the last Top Gun. That wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad.
You've seen Indy 5?
Yeah.
You've seen it?
I have not. No, I've seen the previews.
Okay.
I've seen the extended previews, and it doesn't come out till next month. So
the last Die Hard was terrible too, man. That shit was shitty.
Listen, I saw the first 2 Die Hards, and that's all I saw the first 3 because I saw the third one with Samuel L.
Oh, that was the most funniest one right there. He said, "What does he fucking say?"
You know my favorite Samuel L. movie?
Oh man,
Pulp Fiction.
He had too many though.
See, but I love
Hard to Kill.
Hard to Kill. I love Pulp Fiction because most of the clips that we use on the morning show come from Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah.
And you know it's funny when I played the one clip for my wife, and now she'll walk by me and she'll utter part of it. she'll hear me in a play-by-play sequence, and she'll just walk by and go, "English, motherfucker, do you speak it?"
But I like the Big Whiskey though. That was my favorite movie still to this day.
She'll catch me so off guard when she does that. I just start laughing and I lose wherever my place was.
Yeah, that was a good movie though, man. I just didn't understand the ending. It's still his movies, how he ends the movies always mess me up.
I don't think you're supposed to understand the ending.
You're not supposed. Yeah, the whole point of Pulp Fiction is you're not supposed to know what's going on.
You're not supposed to understand the movie.
Reservoir Dogs, that shit still bothers me. The ending.
Why?
I love that. I love the ending of that movie.
The man's hiding in the back. It was crazy. I like the movie. Like I said, Foxy Brown. I like that movie. That's still my woman crush. Snowman, Pam Grier. She's still my woman crush. Pam Grier. Pam Grier.
Who's that?
Foxy Brown. You don't know Foxy Brown?
Who the hell is Pam Grier? I'm trying not to laugh.
Black exploitation
I was trying not to laugh too.
Black exploitation movies, classic lady.
Right.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar ex-wife. How
do you see my face? Do you see my face?
Oh man, her and Thelma for good times too.
I'm trying not to laugh. Okay.
Chicago. I forgot.
Wait a minute.
Chicago.
I purposely had up another screen so I cannot laugh. Because if you say Pam Grier and I go, what? And I start laughing, I lose it.
But also, tell Chris Bates I need my master's degree from Stupid University. I'm trying to, or at least a doctorate. I'm trying to have that.
Why? Why?
He's gonna get his master's of science.
Listen, Cole played that commercial for me. I remember the first time Cole played that commercial for me, and I couldn't stop laughing.
Oh, he definitely crazy with the commercial.
I played it for Jody, and Jody said, "You got to send me that."
Oh,
she said, "You got to record that commercial and send it to me." I said, "Why?" She says, "Because there are some people that I deal with during my workday that need to hear this."
By the way, to answer the chat's question, yes, I don't have an axe. I have Stormbreaker.
That's an axe.
That's better than an axe. That's better than an axe.
Is it a lightweight axe?
So Dev, yes, I do have an axe.
Well, we know that.
Dev Low.
He asked in the comments, so I had to I had to address him.
Okay.
But yeah, he does a great show, guys. If y'all want to check him out, he shows survival skills and hiking, and he's an outdoorsman, a former Marine. So check out his page, man.
Man.
But how did you like the?
Jeff.
How did you like the Christmas basketball, the NBA, man?
You know,
I'm going to admit something. Nice. Go ahead.
I'm going to admit something I never thought I'd admit aloud. But for the first time, I didn't watch one lick of NBA basketball on Christmas.
Wow.
And I have two very good reasons. One of them's 10 years old. That was my niece. And the other one is because, there was this other stuff on. And just a moment. I had this little guy with me at my in-laws, and I was watching football. Now, I didn't watch part of the Rams because the Rams were getting I didn't watch part of the Broncos-Rams game because the Broncos were basically getting a foot put in their ass. And like I said, by the time I got home, wife and I settled down to an audiobook, and the next thing I know, it was 2 a.m.
I watched 20 minutes of Christmas Day basketball, and it was all I needed to see. I turned it on, and the Celtics were up 15, and I was like, all right, we're good.
Yep.
I was like, all right, this is good.
I didn't even watch the highlights of the games. I just read the box scores. Okay, I just read the box. You know what I'm surprised about? That they didn't make the players wear these silly Christmas uniforms that they were doing for a while. Anybody remember that? Anybody remember those?
I remember the tennis shoes, the sneakers that had Christmas shoes.
You remember those remember those crazy ass basketball uniforms, those Christmas Day uniforms?
Yeah, I remember the Celtics had that green and gold uniform that they wore, and with
the Celtic writing across the front.
Yeah, it was like Celtics. You have one of the most iconic uniforms. You should not have alternate uniforms.
Exactly.
But I just miss the rivalry Christmas games. You know what I mean? Like
because
Kobe versus
anybody.
D Wade. They used to get physical. I remember when D Wade cut Kobe in the face.
Kobe versus Derrick Rose.
Oh my God! Oh, Derrick Rose was different.
Man, Derrick
was different.
I can tell you honestly, the last Christmas Day game I watched in full, I was at my mom's house, and it was the Bulls and the Lakers, and Derrick Rose brought the Bulls back from 10 down and got the game-winning basket on a steal by Lou Allday. That's a last.
Oh, Lou Allday should go to jail, federal jail, for all what he stole from the Lakers.
Oh, it's the Lakers' fault for signing him.
Well, oh my God.
Well, that's what we've been talking about it on all of our shows. Whether it's Spit Down, whether it's here, or whether it's on some. We've been talking about this. We've been talking about this, and Snowman knows. I've done my show for 6 years. We've been talking to NBA for 6 years.
Yeah,
Rivalries are dead.
they have been blown to smithereens.
They're dead because the players don't care
Players
anymore. They
don't
don't
care
care.
anymore. Thank
You
you.
know, Isaiah Thomas hated playing against the Bulls, and the Bulls hated playing the Pistons.
And that's and
It
this
was some of the best, but it was some of the
The
best.
Lakers hated playing against the Celtics. The Celtics
Mhm.
hated playing the Lakers, and the fans hated each other.
Just
No
a
one
minute.
cares No one cares anymore. The players don't care about
Deets-
playing. They'll
Deets,
play
this is
against
for
the
you.
Lakers no matter what, and they're like, "Oh, we don't care."
Deets, this is for you. Back when rivalries were really rivalries, and the Lakers saw the Celtics on the schedule, they thought this.
Oh, hell no!
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah,
Am I right?
I mean,
Now, when you look at the Christmas Day matchups, you just think,
Knicks Heat used to be such a huge game. Because you knew everybody hated each other. Everybody hated everybody.
yep.
They all hated each other, and you were like, all right, when's a fight gonna break out?
I went to a fight and a basketball game broke out.
Yeah.
One of those kind of things, you know. One of those.
Well, who can you say that about? Who can you say that about today?
You
Like,
can't.
who can you say, all right, this guy hates playing against this guy? There's not a single one-on-one rivalry that is out there.
Not one. Nor team rivalry either. Because I was gonna say Bucks and Celtics, but then the Celtics blew the piss out of the Bucks yesterday.
And look at what happened after. Like, Giannis was like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they just got blown out, and he was like, yeah.
Whatever.
And he just walked off the court. Like,
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Like, he wasn't even mad about it. He was like, whatever, we lost. Move on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but I have a question though for you, Snowman. How good was Benji back in the day? Benji from Simeon High School.
Ben Wilson.
Yeah, how good was he back in the day?
Ben Wilson originated the number 25 at Simeon, and it's a retired and a sacred number. Ben was freaking dynamite.
They said I was watching a documentary a couple months ago. They said he could shoot. They said he was different.
Yeah,
they said he was different.
He was. Think of all the players. I'm gonna have to do a piece on this. The players that I had a chance to see that wore number 25 at Simeon, they all were different, but there was just something about Ben Wilson. There was just something about Ben Wilson that, you couldn't mess with. You just couldn't mess with.
Yeah,
you just couldn't mess. You just couldn't mess with Ben Wilson.
They said he was a walking bucket.
Yep, he was. He was indeed a walking bucket. He was indeed a walking bucket. All right. But again, it just goes back to that number 25, and the tradition that comes with wearing number 25.
So would you have him as number one high school player of all time out of Chicago? Or who would be your number one?
That's a tough call, because there are so many players out of Chicago that you can deem number one. Because I had the first player that I had a chance to cover who was number one in the state was Quentin Richardson from Whitney.
Ooh.
And I saw Quentin Richardson play up close and personal, not only at Whitney Young, but at DePaul. Because when I was covering Chicago State, they played DePaul twice, and I had a chance to see. Look. Deet said it best. When you see that player from another team with a number, that number that you're familiar with, and when they come onto the floor, you stop because you want to see what they do in warmups. And of course, they're not going to give you everything in warmups. That was Quentin Richardson for Whitney Young, because the first city championship game I did, they played Martin Luther King High School, and there was a fellow on King by the name of Amari Sawyer. and everyone was so excited to see him in the championship game. But then Whitney Young ran out, Quentin Richardson ran out. And all I needed to see to know what was going to happen that day was Quentin Richardson hit his first 3-point goal in warmups. He didn't hit his first 3 until the third quarter of that game because Dennis Gates helped out. A couple of other players helped out, but then Quentin Richardson got going. He wound up with 34 in that game. Excuse me. Been holding that one for 2 hours. But yeah, when you see players like that and you stop and look, yeah, that was something special. And they did it at the UIC Pavilion. That was something special.
Hey, Deets, what some players you saw out of Connecticut? He was like, man, he's for real.
Tay George.
Connecticut. Well, you want what?
It don't
what
matter.
do
It don't matter any sport. Any sport, he was like, man.
I mean, I'll tell you right now. I get to laugh every time I see him on screen on that network because they're promoting him more than anybody. My guy Dan Orlovsky. Dan Orlovsky has made me famous, and it's my Al Bundy story. I picked him off twice in the same game, and every time I see him talking on the on First Take, or I see him doing a game, I'm like, why is this guy? I'm like, you want to break down? I was like, keep breaking down the game, but why don't you break down the 2 interceptions you threw to me? That'd be fantastic.
No, you won't break that down.
But
or him running out of the end zone.
When he ran out of the end zone, I was like, "Yep, that's Connecticut football for you."
You should listen to Paul Allen call that play. You should hear Paul Allen call that play.
Hey, but you know what I mean? It's a different thing. But Kemba Walker's been looking lights out with the Mavs. He's been looking great. He's been looking great.
You know Kemba's a different cat, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that is a star, but he can't be the superstar.
Right.
And no one knows that more than the Boston Celtics. Like,
hold on. But DC also got to say, MJ never built nothing with him. Never built a solid team around him when he was with Charlotte.
Well,
when he was with Charlotte, but again, when he was with Charlotte, he was a superstar because he was the team.
Mm-hmm.
If he's the team, he looks like a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
But once you start saying, "Hey, Kemba, you gotta spread it around," all of a sudden he kind of takes that like, "All right, I don't have to be the guy. I'm not gonna be."
Mm-hmm.
And that's been Kemba his whole thing. And you can go all the way back to his UConn days. I mean, that's still one of the best Big East tournaments I've ever seen played in my entire life.
Oh my God.
They had to play every single day, and when he crossed that dude up at Pittsburgh, and me and my buddy Victor, who used to be on my show, we used to call him up when he crossed Brittany Griner up. I don't know who the guy's name was, but he looked like Brittany Griner. When he crossed that dude up and hit it with a second left on the clock. Once he crossed him up, I went, game's over. I went, this is it. And he jaded it right in his face. I was like, oh.
He said Brittany Griner.
He did.
Go watch that play. He was just like Brittany Griner. I don't know the guy's name for Pittsburgh, so that's what we call him.
Oh my God, he called him Brittany Griner. That's too much.
No, I mean Connecticut, UConn. I'm just so glad to see UConn, and look where UConn 13-0 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 in the country. Like nobody's even talking about. Nobody's even talking about it.
Not yet.
But I gotta say this: I don't see nobody beating Don Stanley's teams. Don Stanley's team is just different. UConn always had a good, solid women team, but Don Stanley's teams.
Oh No, I'm talking men's basketball is number 2.
I know what you mean, but that's
But
y'all powerhouse for women.
The men are better than the women this year.
That's crazy.
We don't get to say that in Connecticut that much.
Nah, not much,
if at all.
But not the thing about UConn women's basketball that everybody needs to understand is Gino Auriemma is a genius. He schedules the hardest teams at the beginning of the year, so he knows where his team is. And when they get to the NCAA tournament, he can go, hey, remember we played so-and-so at the beginning of the year? That's what you guys need to play like. Even though he has a great team, he will schedule the other great teams so that his team is ready for the dance when it comes.
Mm-hmm.
You see all the men's teams that are like, we'll play a cupcake schedule. We'll play.
He did it with Pat Summitt in Tennessee all the time.
Oh man,
we'll play an ACC Big East. Like you never see the men's teams playing these tough games,
right?
And they're not ready. And they're not ready for the tournament. Gino always has his team ready for the tournament, and that's one thing that he does that I always respect. Gino never backs down.
And Pat used to cuss them girls out.
Oh yeah,
in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah. See, Pat and Gino used to cuss each other out.
Oh man!
No matter who won, they used to do handshakes and then they cuss each other out.
But that's how it was back in the day. You could cuss each other for 40 minutes, but then shake hands and hug at the end of the game.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't have that anymore.
That's why I love what you call it too, man. I love Bobby Knight, man. How Isaiah Thomas was talking about how he recruited him. He said he came all the way to Chicago and sat in my house for me to come. Yep. And my brother got an argument, and Bobby said, "Come on, we can go outside." Bobby didn't have nothing in him. No.
Listen, Robert Montgomery Knight didn't care. All right. Robert Montgomery Knight just did not care.
And Larry said, "Man, go sleep, go yourself. You ain't gonna talk to me like that, Bobby." Like that's why I got Larry Bird. That's why I love Larry Bird too, man. Larry found his own path.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing got him uneasy. Nobody could get into his mind. That's why I love Larry Bird too, man. And that's why I don't think it's fair to give Luka the comparison of that tough man. He fought anybody. Larry didn't take shit from nobody.
Larry,
Dr. J, it didn't even matter.
Larry outworked you. Period.
Nobody is Larry. Nobody in this era should ever be compared to Larry Bird.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have it. I mean, Larry, the consummate Larry story is who's coming in second. That's how Larry felt every single day of his life. Was I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. I'm beating you, and all you got to know is who's coming in second.
And he said in another line, what he said, "You really gonna put a white boy on me?" Like how gangster that is. He said, "You really gonna put a white boy on me?"
He did. He sure did.
How you gonna put a white boy on me?
But there's nobody with that. There's nobody that would come in with that kind of. There's nobody out there that has that kind of confidence in anything, anything in the NBA
not
anymore.
Not like that. No, not like that.
That man was different though.
Ooh, man, was he ever different?
But I also like that shooting guard out of the Nets, man. He was wet.
Drazen Petrovic.
If he didn't get in that car accident, he'd be different. Man.
Is that who you're speaking of? Drazen Petrovic?
He was different. He was different from that arc in that mid-range game.
Drazen Petrovic was a monster. All right, Drazen Petrovic was nothing to play with.
Yeah. Devlo brings up a good point. Larry Bird played an entire game left-handed and scored 40 points
against the Portland Trailblazers.
I remember that there was something out there that said there was something out there. Somebody wrote an article that said, "Oh, Larry can't go left," so he played the entire game left-handed and scored 47
points.
And it was so disrespectful because he played horse on you in the game. He's doing the horse shots behind the goal, shooting rainbows. Like, hey, you let somebody shoot a rainbow on you behind the court.
There was a game he played. There was a game they played, and they were in Hartford, Connecticut. And I mean, he hoisted a shot that had no business going in behind the backboard, and it went in. And I'm going.
He did it against the Rockets in a playoff game
in the finals.
In the finals, shot it over the backboard.
Over the backboard, and it went, and it was wet. It was, as Rod would say, it was wet. It was nothing but. It was nothing but.
But I don't think we ever will see them Celtic teams with all that length ever again. How do you have so much length?
No,
as big men, you would never see nothing like that again.
Snowman's heard me say it, and I'll say this until the day I see somebody better. But I don't think we're ever going to see better. The 1986 Celtics are the best team ever assembled.
Cornbread, you got names like Cornbread on the team. Cornbread.
You won't get that of me.
You had Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, and Larry Bird. And then you're like, all right, well, we'll wait till the second team comes in. Oh, wait, it's Bill Walton.
Bill Walton. Mm-hmm.
In his prime.
I mean, Bill Walton, when he was with the Celtics, I mean, granted, he won a championship with Portland in 1977, but Bill Walton was different when he was with the Celtics. I mean, Walton ran the floor. And I mean sprinting, because in Game 3 in 86 against Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals, Boston was trailing at the top of the third quarter. Walton swatted a shot, took off down the floor, and Bird somehow got the ball in his hand. He sees Walton flying up the far sideline, curling to the basket, and before Paul Pressey could get to Bird zips a pass over his head to Bill Walton, cutting to the basket.
Well, because Bill knew he only had to go. He didn't have to go 38 minutes a game. He only had to go 24.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off the bench, he was he could be fresh, and he could just go. He could just go. Leave it all in the court, and he did. He wasn't going to have to come back and play another 40 minutes the next day.
Right.
But them guards on that team were feisty. Dennis Johnson,
Danny Ainge.
They were some feisty. I mean, diving for any ball, pick your pocket. It was just feisty, man.
That's why I love these. That's why I love all these people that say, no, Jordan's era. No, but he didn't play against good athletes. Danny Ainge was a number one pick he was the number one pick in baseball to the Toronto Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
But Danny Ainge was not a good. But Danny Ainge wasn't a good athlete. Okay.
And my next four words are, who told this lie?
I mean, I love that. Oh, he didn't play against good athletes. The guy was the number one pick in the baseball draft.
But also, man, that Mark Price and Larry Nance. That Cavalier team was pretty good. Man.
Mark Price, Larry Nance, Craig Elo, Brad Doherty.
And Armstrong was on that team too, right?
John Hot Rod Williams.
Was Armstrong one of them teams? One of them Cleveland teams?
Who's that?
Armstrong.
No.
He was already off the team.
John Hot Rod Williams was there.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't.
How do you feel like? I feel like, man, they need to change the rules for the NBA Hall of Fame, man. It is becoming real watered down to too much, where it's like Kool-Aid with no sugar in it. It's just terrible.
We had this discussion when we were talking about the NFL Hall of Fame, and I told you the NBA is like, all right, who's on the list? All right, you're in.
So I feel like they need to get some voters from the Baseball Hall of Fame into the NBA Hall of Fame, because it's too many people getting in there. Like Tony Parker is nominated. I think Tony Parker was a solid guard, but can I put him in the top 10, my top 10 in point guards? I cannot do that. I can't. It's where he's going to fit at.
That's a
But
good
the problem with the NBA, the problem with it's not the NBA Hall of Fame. That's the problem with it.
It's the Basketball Hall of Fame.
It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. So the reason why Tony Parker is even on that list is because Tony Parker's international career is pretty expansive. When you look at when you couple it with what he did with the Spurs, it kind of puts him on a different level. Yeah. But I agree with what you're saying. I mean, NBA wise, no. Tony Parker is not a Hall of Fame. Like not a Hall of Fame.
Give me Valley Divac over him any day of the week. You might as well put Valley in there. Valley in there in the Hall of Fame. You gonna put Paul Gasol in there? Like
the problem is Vlade had to go up against Shaq.
You know what I mean? It's not. I can understand Alonzo Mourning being in the Hall of Fame. I can understand Alonzo Mourning being in the Hall of Fame, but Paul Gasol and who else I thought I saw them trying to put him in? You might as well put Steven Jackson in the Hall of Fame. Like you put everybody. You might as well put Rasheed Wallace in the Hall of Fame. He's a better Rasheed Wallace when he was hot and focused. He was dangerous in that post.
Yeah, he was.
He was dangerous in that post.
I saw Sheed play live at North Carolina in the ACC championship. Him and Jerry Stackhouse. Matter of fact, I saw one of the greatest college basketball games ever. February 2nd, 1995, Duke and North Carolina at Cameron Indoor Stadium. I didn't have my ears for a week. I didn't have my throat for 2 weeks because it didn't matter who you were rooting for in that game. You wanted more of it. When Jeff Capel hit that running 40-footer to send it into a second overtime, everybody in there lost it.
But Snowman, I have a question for you, man. I know you're a big White Sox fan.
Talk to me.
How many homers would Frank Thomas had if he was on the juice? How many do you think he would get hit in this season?
Man, F the juice. He didn't need to be on the
I'm gonna say if he was on the juice with like Barry, how many do you think
I'm not gonna answer that question because
I'm gonna say at least about
I'm not gonna answer that question because everything Frank Thomas and Jim Thome did was clean. Period.
I'm telling you, Frank could have had a hit with 100 of them.
And by the way, Barry Bonds was never convicted.
Allegedly. Let me say allegedly. Allegedly.
Listen, let me say it again. Barry Bonds was never convicted, period.
But Clement, I definitely knew he was on it.
You sure about that?
Yeah, because he had a road rage in the middle of the World Series.
Yeah.
He was different.
And when he decided to throw the bat at Mike Piazza. That's when I knew. That's when I knew. Something's not right here.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when after the game they said they asked him why did you throw the bat at him? And he said I thought it was the ball. And I was like, well then why'd you throw it at him? I understand if you threw the bat to first base, but if you thought it was the ball, why did you throw it at Mike Piazza? It doesn't make any sense. Your explanation doesn't make any sense.
And also, do you think Justin Verlander is going to help y'all team out, the Mets team out?
Verlander, absolutely, he's going to help. Absolutely, he's going to help out. And I mean, I saw the contract that they gave to Jacob deGrom, and the Rangers, man. Just wait 3 years, and the Rangers are going to be in so much debt. It's going to be awesome.
They're gonna be in debt within the next year.
You know how mad I was? Trey Mancini went from Baltimore into a World Series. You know how sick I was. Like only the Orioles don't do shit like that. The Orioles only people that do dumb shit like that. I was salty like a baby mom that he get no child support check for the whole month. I was that salty. Like I don't understand how the Orioles do stupid shit. We're gonna lose Mateo. We're gonna lose Mullins. Them two quality players are going to be gone soon enough.
Well, I told you during the baseball season. I told you the worst thing for the Orioles is that they're having a good season right now because they're going to get rid of everybody.
Yep.
Everybody. They're going to either trade everybody away or they're just not going to re-sign anyone, and they're going to go back to being go back to being the Baltimore Orioles again.
The saddest thing when we had Nelson Cruz, he got that big payday off the Orioles. He left the Orioles. I forgot where he went. I think he went to the Mariners, not the Mariners.
Minnesota Twins.
He went to the Twins. Yeah, he went to the Twins after he hit all them, homers with the Orioles. Man, we just got a hitter-friendly field. You know what I mean?
How long you been an Oriole fan?
My uncle got me to be an Oriole fan. He used to watch. He used to make sandwiches, and we just watched the game.
Cool.
But I'm gonna be the first one to tell you, playing it, nah, I'm not doing that. It was something different.
With you with the Orioles, and my dad and my granddad with me with the White Sox. Because Dad took me to my first game. Dad took me to my first game, and the next year, Dad, Grandpa, and I would watch as many White Sox games together as we could. Mm-hmm. I lost Granddad 5 years after that to a stroke in '88.
Sorry to hear that. But who's your favorite White Sox of all time? Who's your favorite?
That's not a fair question.
Just give me a top. Give me a top two.
I can't. I can't. How about I give you a top five?
All right, give me a top five.
All right. Mark Burley, Jack McDowell, Carlton Fisk, and there's a tie. Greg Luzinski and Frank Thomas.
Wow.
Beats, what about you for the Mets?
Wow. I'm surprised you don't have AJ on that list.
AJ's there somewhere.
AJ is my favorite. If you ask me my favorite White Sox of all time, it's AJ Pierzynski, because that guy he was a menace.
AJ's lurking on my top 10 list, and I got to see AJ in person in 2005. Matter of fact, if I could put another wild card on there besides AJ Pierzynski, it would be Scott Podsednik.
Mm-hmm.
Reason? I kind of was there when Podsednik walked off against Houston, and when Podsednik hit it, I'm thinking, okay, two bases, at least three, and it just kept carrying, and we're all watching it. We're all just watching it, and then when it left the yard, everybody went crazy.
Absolutely.
It took me 2 hours to get home that night, because there were 40,000 people at U.S. Cellular Field that night, partying outside the building like a motherfucker. I stayed an extra hour because the trains were all full. And I knew, and I had a few beers and a few hot dogs. I knew I had to sit down, because if I stood on the train, if I stood on the red line going back south, I was gonna have a headache.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hell, what am I talking about? I got home and I had a headache anyway. Because earlier that day, I got to see the Bears play the Orioles. Then I got to cover a Northwestern. Game first. That was at 1:00. Then I raced to Soldier Field and saw the Bears beat the Orioles in a mud pit at Soldier Field, and then flew down to the south side to 35th Street, and I saw the Game 2 of the World Series.
Oof.
I had a full day. That's
a day. That's a day and a half.
I had to go from wearing a shirt and tie at Northwestern. I had my travel bag with me, and I had my computer with me. I got out of Welsh Ryan Arena, stripped off the tie, took off the shirt, threw on my jacket, flew to Soldier Field, got in the press box at Soldier Field, chance to see that game in a mud pit because it rained all day. It rained from the time I left Northwestern to the time I got to Soldier Field. Rained throughout the game at Soldier Field. We didn't think we were going to play Game 2 of the World Series. But then my friend buzzed me and said, get down here to U.S. Cellular Field now. And the Bears were busy wrapping up. I didn't have time to ask any questions. I didn't have time to talk to Jeff Joniak, who's the radio voice of the Bears. I took off from Soldier Field, raced down to U.S. Cellular Field. It was still raining.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Awesome.
And it was still raining by the time I got to U.S. Cellular Field. The crew at Fox were thinking, oh, they're not gonna, we're not gonna play. And then they were removing the tar by the time I got to U.S. Cellular Field. Then Paul Konerko happened in the 7th inning, and we all went nuts. And then Jose Vizcaíno happened in the top of the 9th to tie the game. And then Scott Podsednik happened.
Wow.
I didn't go to sleep. I came in, my dad was waiting up for me, and he said, "So, how'd your day go?" "Can I tell you tomorrow?" And he's laughing. And he's laughing because he knew what my itinerary was.
Yeah.
My mother didn't. All my mother knew is that I was going to Northwestern.
Oh, man.
So I pulled a fast one.
There you go. So, Rod, you asked about who my favorite Met of all time is?
No, yeah, Mets.
So,
who's your top?
My favorite Met, I'll tell you this story because it probably tells you why I hate the media so much. Why I hate normal media. All right. So I'm a Mets fan. I'm 10 years old. I'm there to watch my favorite Met of all time and still my favorite player, still my favorite person of all time, still my favorite sports figure of all time.
And
I'm there, and a reporter comes up to me, a 10-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, we're here talking to Mets fans. How do you feel about Dwight Gooden being acquitted of sexual assault charges?"
Oh, God. I'm sorry, man.
I'm 10 years old. And you're
Right.
sitting there it was Fox 5 News. They're interviewing me about Dwight Gooden and his sexual assault case. And I don't even know what I said, but I was just like, I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. I have no idea what's going on.
Did you act like Darryl Strawberry and walk off?
But I answered. I know I answered the question, and I'm pretty sure I know I just talked for like 20 minutes about something that had nothing to do with whatever they were asking me about, because all I did was talk to him about, nope, Dwight Gooden was acquitted, and he's my favorite player, and he'll be back for us, and that was all I kept talking about. But yeah, Dwight Gooden is my favorite. He's my favorite sports figure of all time.
That was my
I
second.
love Doc. I love Doc K. I when I was growing up, when I was playing Little League, I had the big kick like Doc. When I was pitching,
I love watching Doc Gooden. I love watching Doc Gooden pitch. I loved it. I love watching Doc Gooden.
I mean, everything about the team, and just like, you watch the downfall of that team, but just how awesome that team was for a 4-year stretch.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing.
I got another question. I got another question for y'all.
Okay.
All right.
Is the World Series? You need 3 outs. What pitcher are y'all going with?
Dan
you need 3 outs.
Dan Quisenberry.
I need 3 outs in the World Series.
Yeah.
Is this to close the series out?
This is to close it out.
It's to close it out. Okay. Who are you going with, Deets?
I'll go with my guy, Jesse O.
Jesse Orozco.
Jesse Orozco.
There's a left-handed reliever I couldn't think of this morning. Jesse Orozco.
And
Orozco could throw over the top and sidearm.
He was lights out.
I got too many that I got.
I mean, I would say the obvious answer to that question is Mariano Rivera, but if Luis Gonzalez is coming up, then you got problems.
Mm-hmm.
You could say Eckersley, but if somebody goes to the bench and pulls Kirk Gibson off the bench, then you got problems.
You got problems. Yep.
Hey, so
I would say, from my own standpoint, I would say Bobby Jenks, but then there's Jose Vizcaíno. But then at the same time, Jenks got rescued by Scott Podsednik.
Yeah. So but the obvious right answer to that question is Mariano Rivera. Everybody's going to go to Mariano, and even though he does have blips on his career, nobody's shutting down the game more than Mo.
No. For me, the first reliever, and I asked this during the morning show, the first reliever I didn't want to see was Dan Quisenberry because of his submarine action. And even when he threw
break that down though for people to understand.
Submarine action is when you're doing just that. It's not sidearm because you can come over the top like this, or you can drop sidearm like this, or 3/4 as some people call it. With Dan Quisenberry, he had a short windup, and he was basically scraping the ground with his hand.
His knuckles would hit the ground when he pitched.
Would hit the mound. That's a submariner. That is one main reason why I don't want to fuck with Dan Quisenberry. Hey Brian, you pinch hitting. Who am I facing? Dan Quisenberry. Oh hell no. or this is for Deets. You're gonna face Mariano Rivera. The hell I am. I'll act like John Crook and put my helmet on backwards.
No, the guy I'm putting my helmet on backwards for was I think Victor said it in the chat. Somebody said it in the chat. Was Rob Dibble.
Rob Dibble, yep.
Rob Dibble did not care. He was going to brush you if you stood too close. He was going to brush you back.
You know who else brushed you back? The fellow who John Crook put the helmet on backwards for.
Randy
Johnson.
Randy.
6'10". And remember, when Randy first got to the Mariners, he threw over the top on a 6'10" frame because he was always falling to the third base side. But then he learned how to change his angle.
He learned how to do that 3/4 thing, and
yep.
Kill the bird.
Nasty.
Kill the bird.
That ain't only killed. That ain't only killed with 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah, but that was the thing about Randy is Randy would come with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and then he'd back it up with an 80-mile-an-hour slider. That you'd look at it, you'd be like, oh, that's outside, and all of a sudden, boom, it's right down
over the plate. It breaks right over the plate, and you're going, what?
What about old Roy? Is Roy up there for y'all?
Who? Holiday?
Yeah, Holiday.
If you're going, see, there's a difference between the question though, because if you're asking me to get 3 out, if you're asking me to get 3 outs, I'm not going with Roy Holiday. If you're asking me to score a game,
no, I'm saying as a starter, is he up there for y'all as a starter?
If you want a starter, Roy Holiday is probably
one of the
5th,
best,
6th on the list.
Yep. If you want to close, if you're talking about 3 outs to clinch a series, that's a closer's role.
Yeah, that's a close. That you're talking about a closer.
And even though I gave like quite a few pictures this morning, the only answer to that is Mariano Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So who will be the next one underneath him for closers? I think it was a second best to him all time.
Trevor Hoffman.
Trevor's a good one. I gotta go with the next guy on the list, Lee Smith. And Lee. Well, yeah. Both those, and the thing about both those guys is they were both starters. Mm-hmm. They were both starting pitchers. Yeah, that managers had the foresight to say, you know what, we don't need you to throw 8 innings. We just need you to go 1 and just throw gas.
And Tony La Russa was a genius from converting Dennis Eckersley from a starter to a reliever. Because that sidearm motion of Eckersley, I mean, I talked about Dan Quisenberry throwing sidearm, but that is,
Eck had it. All those guys. But I mean, when you're talking starters. Mm-hmm. If Jack Morris isn't the top guy on your list, I don't know what World Series you're watching.
I love Jack Morris. Jack Morris, to me, pitched the greatest World Series game ever. I love you, Don Larson, but when you can throw 10 innings of shutout ball, Tom Kelly. Here's a funny story before I get out of here. Tom Kelly was going to pull Jack Morris in Game 7 in 91. And Jack Morris said, "The hell you are. I started this shit and I'm going to finish it." So he left him out there and he got through the 10th inning, and then Gene Larkin won it.
Yeah. That to me is the quintessential. I mean, there are two guys. You tell me, all right, it's Game 7. Who are you putting out there? Jack Morris is one, and 1B is Curt Schilling.
Curt Schilling. 1C for me would be Doc Gooden.
Doc. The thing is, Doc was not a play. I love Doc. Doc was not a playoff guy.
Yeah,
he got rocked. The one World Series game he was in, he got rocked.
Okay, this is for you, Deets.
Hurt.
You know what? You know a lefty starter I'd put out there? El Cid.
Hell yeah, Sid Fernandez.
El Cid. I'll take my chances with. Who started? Did Ron Darling start Game 7 or did Sid start Game 7?
Ron Darling pitched game.
Ron Darling started Game 7. I thought so. Because Ron Darling started Game 1 and Doc Gooden started Game 2.
Yep.
Of that series. I'd start El Cid. And Sid did come in that game, didn't he?
Sid came in, then they went to the real bullpen.
Then they went to the bullpen.
Then they went to Doug Sisk and the rest of them.
Oh dear Lord, Doug Sisk, man. You know a Mets pitcher that had deceptive arm angles, but he couldn't figure out his control. Ed Lynch.
Yep.
Ed Lynch, number 36.
Yep.
I mean, he would come over the top one pitch, and then he would drop sidearm the next pitch, but he just couldn't control it. He just couldn't control it. There's a problem.
Well, that's the difference between a thrower and a pitcher.
Yeah.
And Ed Lynch was a thrower.
Ed Lynch was indeed a thrower. You know who I thought was a thrower until I saw him perform in the 93 playoffs? Juan Guzman for the Blue Jays. Juan Canadian. Yeah. How does Chris Berman say it? Juan Canadian Guzman. Because I thought, okay, this is a junk pitcher. And they face the White Sox in the ALCS. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to be able to rock Juan Guzman. Not. Couldn't touch him. Could not touch Juan Guzman.
That Blue Jays team was stacked.
Yeah, it was.
They had Juan Guzman, David Cone, Jack Morris, and David Stewart all on the same staff.
All on that staff.
Oh.
And then you go to they had a two-headed closer. They had a two-headed monster as a closer. They had Dwayne Ward, and they had Tom Henke.
Mm-hmm.
And there's there's a picture that they had on the 92 team as a lefty, Jimmy Key.
Jimmy Key
was nasty.
I remember Jimmy Key when he was with the Yankees.
Jimmy Key was nasty.
Oh.
As a lefty, Jimmy Key was nasty. Jimmy Key was nasty. All right, let me get out of here, y'all. Rod, thanks for letting me on the panel. I truly appreciate it. Deets, I appreciate it.
I told you I want to sit down one of these days and break down the Negro League, man, and break down the history of baseball.
You know that's a 4-hour broadcast now, right?
I know we could do it in 2 parts. 2
parts, my ass. We'll do it in one. We'll do it in one sit-down session, and I'll edit it into 2 parts.
All right, we can do
that. That's with us that love to talk baseball. Yeah. That's a 4-hour broadcast at least.
Because you know what I mean, I don't feel like they don't give Gibson enough praise, man.
They don't.
He was way better than Jackie Robinson. He was way better.
We'll discuss that another time.
There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys like that, but
yeah. Let me get out of it.
But all right, I appreciate
I gotta go down. I gotta go down for a nap myself.
All right.
I'll be back on at 3:00. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, no man.
But Deets, what you have coming up this week?
This week it's of course we're going Thursday, and it'll be our last show of 2022. So we'll be doing obviously we'll be talking CFP. We'll be breaking all that down. But we're gonna do a lot of fun end of the year stuff. So ending 2022 on the right note. Right now, I know we're gonna talk about player of the. We're probably gonna do. We do Summer of Greatness. We'll probably do 2022 Year of Greatness. We'll probably do tournaments. We'll do Player of the Year, Team of the Year, and right now I'm thinking. I was talking with a buddy of mine over the weekend. I really can't do best of the year as far as TV and movies go.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to do worst of the year because there's so many worse. I can't tell which one's going to be worse. So we'll do a couple tournaments, see where we get and end the year the right way. So we'll be doing that on Thursday.
And this what I want to do with you. It's about to be the end of the the NFL season. I want to make our own Pro Bowl. We're gonna have a regular Pro Bowl and we're gonna have a rookie Pro Bowl. So
we can definitely do that.
So we're gonna do we can do the major positions, corner, defense, offense, offensive line, you think are pretty solid. Or you can just pick a whole offensive line. You can do how you want to do it. And
Absolutely.
And I want to see what the fans say about it.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I can definitely put that together. I'll start working on that. And you just let me know when you want to do it.
All right.
We'll get that out there.
But this has been another day of Midday Sports with Rod and Lunch Crew / Fifth Down Sports with Chris Dietz. Go check him out Thursday at what time, Dietz?
Thursday at 9:00. Thursday at 9:00, we will put a cap on this year and get you set up for 2023.
All right. So it's been another episode. Make sure you have a good, productive, rest of Monday. I know everybody got to go to work probably tonight or tomorrow. So have a safe work week. And we're out.
And everybody find something to do so you don't have to watch that garbage of a game tonight.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna play Tetris.
Find something to. It's not hard to find anything better than watching. It's going to be garbage tonight.
All right, guys. So we're out of here. All right. Bye.
All right. Thanks, buddy.